All right, I'd like to call this, are you all set?
Now I don't want to diss them.
I'd like to call this meeting to order, please. The first item on the agenda is public comments. Do we have anybody here that would like to say something?
It's more of a clarification.
Sure.
The new,
Would you like to identify yourself,
I'm
please?
sorry, Holly Dan, the public participation.
Participation.
Policy.
Yeah?
Am I understanding right that concerns or questions are welcome at the time of the discussion?
Yes, I'm not sure what issue you're addressing.
It's later in the meeting, and I'm not even sure that I will say anything. It's just, I wanted to know that comments or questions are welcome at that time.
Sure, that would be more appropriate.
And also, I in coming to many meetings and observing, I was just wondering, the hiring process, is that across the board, SVSU wide? I know the administrator, you just went through a process.
Joy Cox, who was our human relations person,
it gets advertised on Spring School or School Spring?
The process may vary based on the type of opening. So if you have a specific question, I'm happy to.
Approval, the administrator that was just, he went through the advertising, drawing down, coming recommended, and then the board approves. Is that the process across the board? Say the teachers, janitors.
In general, we post
Coaches.
our open positions. There are some circumstances under which they are posted internally. First, in general, that is, you did touch on the appropriate steps of the process, that it is posted. We go through a selection criteria and process that's determined to be the best for that position, and then nominations are subject to board approval.
And the board has to approve
Correct.
to be official.
Correct.
Thank you. That's all.
very good. I'd like to move on then. I'm sorry, yes.
I'd like to congratulate our softball team and coach and staff. They just won the first state championship since 1988. They did a great job. They were and I thought represented the school very well. They not only played well, like I said, they just represented our school very well. So congratulations to them.
Thank you, Dave. Congratulations to all of them. That was I didn't attend the game, but I just read the short bit in the paper. It must have been an exciting game. They won it at the last minute with a double play. It sounds like it must have been very exciting. Very good. Okay, we can move on then to the treasurer's report.
We started the year with 4.99 million. Total interest earned date through May was 70,824. Miscellaneous receipts were 306,000. High school completion, state of Vermont, state aid and other aid that we did in the state, 3.8 million. Ad interest was 76,000, and then we had included in receipts a $4 million tax anticipation note. We received taxes from BSD of 6.9 million, North Bennington 832,000, Pownell 1.39 million, Shaftesbury 1.624 million, and Woodford 306,000. Under disbursements under warrants, we had SVSU assessments of approximately 7.73 million, CDC tuition 833,000, the QZAP payment 169,000, and payroll warrants were approximately 10.8 million, where vendor warrants were 4.44 million, and there were some small bank fees. So our cash balance as of May 31st is $10,174,586.
Thank you very much. Do we have a motion to approve the treasurer's report?
So moved. Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstentions? Do you have a question? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I do have a question. Your report shows a cash balance of 10 million, so forth. The other half of the question, probably has to be answered by Rick, but why do we have a tax anticipation of $4 million? We got $10 million in
It has to do with cash flow and when we receive state aid and when the taxes are due. So we have a lot of expenses prior to when we receive taxes. And so the tax anticipation note is taken out for the full year. We get a small amount of arbitrage because we get a higher investment rate. So it's better for us to just take the note out for the full year because we do get a small amount of arbitrage on the receipts that are in the depository account.
Very good, okay, we can move on. We have, do you want the bond anticipatory?
Sure. I have the tax anticipation note of $3,850,000. We received 2 bids. I went with Peoples, which was 1.18%. I also received one from Merchants of 1.25% as a needed basis. Peoples is going to give us up to the loan amount 1.41%, which is a small amount of arbitrage of 0.23%, which is not much, but it's better than nothing.
Yeah.
And they will give us over the loan amount in the depository account a 0.33% investment yield, which is better than I can get taking out CDs because they're like 0.25% and you take them out for 181 days. So, it's a little bit better for us to.
Very, very good. Just to refresh people's memory, I know you mentioned this before, is that we have expenses before we receive the tax receipts from the different towns, and that's why we need this amount of capital in our working account to be able to pay those bills. So if we could have a motion to accept, first of all, we want to waive the reading of the whole what do we call it? Note. Waive the reading of the note, and then we need a motion to approve it.
I move to waive the reading.
Any?
Second. Third.
Any questions? Yes.
I have a question because I can't get into the files here. I don't have a paper copy yet. The note you're talking about, Gail, is for what period?
Well, we take it out for the full year.
But
as of July 1 through June 30th.
Okay, so what we were talking about a few minutes ago was the balance on the notes was about to come due at the end of June.
There is a balance there. We have a $4 million. This will be slightly less than that.
Okay, so that
is due.
We take a new note out.
Correct.
Okay.
And
Yes, Rick, you have some?
Just for the, the viewers on TV or anyone else that may not understand the terminology, what arbitrage means is, we're a tax exempt organization, which means we get beneficial borrowing rates from the banks because they don't necessarily have to pay the taxes on that income. So we get a more competitive rate. And sometimes, not all the time, probably most of the time, we can earn more on our investments than we pay in our loans. We can't do that personally at the bank because they need to make some money. But that's what we're talking about by arbitrage, is we're making more on our investments. So when that environment exists, we will borrow as much as we can. And there's legal limits to how much we can borrow. We'll borrow as much as we can, invest it on day one, and we'll earn that money all the way through June 30th to help grow the district's cash a little bit. Sometimes it doesn't work out, but most of the times it does.
Most of the time it does. So we need a motion to approve the note from the People's Bank for the amount of $3 million.
I'm going to call the motion, the first motion I don't think we voted on, to waive it.
Oh, okay.
So you'll have to call it.
Okay, you can call it, right. All right. But I'm not exactly sure what you're.
The motion I made to waive the
reading of the
The
note.
reading, right.
And there was a second, but then we never voted on it.
Oh, I'm sorry, that's my fault. Okay, so we should vote on it. We have a motion before us that we have not voted on. That is to waive the reading of the note. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstentions? Very good. Now we need a motion to approve the note from People's Bank in the amount of $3,850,000 at a rate of 1.18%.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Abstentions? Very good.
There are, I'm going to pass it around, there's 3 places for everybody to sign. I have little sticky notes, little things.
Good.
Sign here.
Thank you. Before we leave the finance, I asked Rick to just bring us up to date on the construction that's being done on the roof of the gym, and also what we anticipate for construction in terms of the storage area this summer.
Yeah, the roof was done just prior to graduation, so hopefully that was all cleaned out, right?
Right.
Before graduation, everything went well, everybody's happy with it. So that's done, that was in this year's money. Next year, we are looking to construct a cold storage space for athletic and phys ed equipment. We talked about it a couple different meetings here. We are through the design phase, and a RFP is due to go out on the street any day now. And that will be advertised in local papers, and we're hoping to get a number of competitive bids.
Very good. Any questions on Rick on either one of those issues?
Did we decide on the garage door?
They decided, not me, they, to do actually a 6-foot swing door for some stability reasons, as opposed to the garage door. But we're going to have the same concept. There'll be a mullion in the middle that they can pull out, so they'll have a wide 6-foot opening to come and go. But we did get that opening. It's just instead of a rolled door, it's going to be swings.
Are there any other questions? Move on then to personnel. We have a number of motions that need to be approved by the board. Most of them, all of them really dealing with contracts. Nelson, do you want to help us through that?
Yeah, the first one I'll make is with the request to do the .4 increase in the guidance counselor position at MAUHS. I'll make a motion that we increase that by the .4.
Second? Second. Any discussion on that?
I think I asked this question at
We talked about it last
the last
meeting.
meeting,
Yes.
where if you hired substitutes to fill in, it would actually cost more.
It would cost, the difference would be 12,000 versus 35,000.
It's on that
So
sheet I just handed
We
out.
saved them. And more, as importantly, I think it's a better way for the students too. So I think it's a win-win.
Are there any other questions? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Nelson?
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the contracts for 2014-2015 school year for the teachers' negotiated contract.
We have a motion.
So moved.
We have a second.
Second.
Do we have any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Abstentions or noes? Good, move on. Nelson?
Okay, I also have a motion to approve the contracts for 2014-2015 school year for the off-contract individuals as has been recommended by the administration.
Good, we have a motion.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And finally, I have a motion to approve the contracts for 2014-2015 for the non-AOE certified directors, which has had added separation language as proposed, is what the contract change is.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? I'd just like to inform people that are watching that these issues were discussed at length during executive session. As most of you know, contractual arrangements, personnel arrangements are done in executive session, and these were thoroughly discussed with our business manager and our human relations director, so that the board was informed as to any changes that were made and recommendations that were made by the administration. And these contracts have the people involved in them who would benefit from them have been informed. All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstentions? Very good. All right, we can move down to consent agenda. We need a motion to accept it.
So move.
Now,
Second.
Do we have some additions to that, Rick? Is that what you're giving me here?
I was handed that as I was walking out the door and said, here, distribute. So I don't know if that's on the consent agenda or if it needs to be added to.
I don't either.
I don't,
Let's take a look. Did all of you run it off on your computer, the consent agenda? Just take a look to see if the things that Rick just passed out were part of that.
Yes.
well, this is,
Accommodations?
yeah.
Yeah.
This is the increase in the counselor that we just talked about. So I'm assuming she's on that list.
Yeah,
Yeah. So,
Jamie Estes,
Yep.
so there is no amendment, that's just your backup for it.
just a backup. Give everybody just a minute, because I know that you just received these a minute ago, and then we'll vote on it. Anybody have any questions on any part of the consent agenda? All right, all those in favor of it signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstentions? Very good. We move on then. Student representative. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Daniel Durfee for his support and for his contributions to the board and the school. It's always a great honor to have a student here to represent the student body and let us know how the students are feeling. I know that your suggestions as to when certain programs might be more effective when they're introduced, it's going to be something we will be considering. And on behalf of the board, I'd like to thank you for being here and wish you the very best of luck in your next endeavor.
Thank you.
I should know this, but where are you going?
Middlebury College.
Middlebury. Congratulations, that's
Thank
great. Do you have a course of study in mind, or?
I'm thinking about chemistry, but nothing definite yet.
Well, best of luck to you.
Thank you.
Thank you again. And we have a new student representative who will be here, and we thank you very much for being here with us. Would you like to just tell us a little about yourself?
Sure. I'm a junior this year at the high school. I'm involved in a lot of the clubs and stuff that the high school has, such as Student Senate and Interact, and National and Spanish Honor Society. And I also work at the middle school in the Mosaic After School and Summer programs.
And your name is?
Morgan Howlett.
Last name again?
Howlett.
Very good. Well, welcome, and I know it will benefit from your being here. And if you ever have any questions, don't hesitate to ask or let us know your feelings.
Thank you.
Very
And
good.
hopefully next year there's going to be another junior rep. The Student Senate is going to decide on a new rep at the beginning of the school year.
How is the student rep designated? Is it voted in
The
or
other
is it
students
appointed,
in the
or
Student
what?
Senate vote on it.
The Senate votes on it?
Yep.
Very good. Well, I hope you find it interesting. I know at times it must seem a little dull to you, but there are some interesting things that happen. All right, you can move on then. Administrator's report.
We're winding down. I thought the graduation went great. The all-night party that goes till 1 o'clock in the morning went well.
Good.
We have finals Friday and Monday. So,
Sue,
Almost there.
what do we have in terms of vacancies within the staff?
right now, we just have an English position and a library clerk. Those two. I don't know what
English
you did.
shouldn't be hard. We'll get to Tim in a minute, but English shouldn't be hard.
I had about 50 applicants in the first 3 days.
I'll bet you did. Good. Tim, before we get there, what time would you like those board members that were showing up for your graduation on Friday at 6 o'clock to be here?
15 minutes early would be enough. We'll
Okay.
save some seats, and folks just need to tell us how many of them are coming, and we'll set them aside.
Okay.
Do you need to know
Okay.
that?
Yeah, if folks, I can talk about that in my report, but if folks, today, two things. I have a yearbook for board members who would like one, and if you anticipate attending, you can just see me after the meeting, and I'll be glad to put your name down and a guest, and we'll save a spot for you.
Right. Very good. So if you plan to attend the 8th grade graduation, which will take place here at 8 o'clock on this
6
Friday.
o'clock.
6 o'clock, sorry, 6 o'clock. what did I say? Anyway,
You show up at 8, you'll be
grade,
chaperoning
6
the
o'clock.
dance.
Outdoors or indoors? Tim,
We decided, Brown.
is it indoors or outdoors?
Graduation, or the celebration will be outside. And if it rains, we'll move it
It's
inside.
not gonna rain.
It's
You
not
got,
gonna-
you
Looks
look.
gorgeous.
Yeah, it looks like it should be a beautiful day. Thanks. Anything else, Sue?
Nope.
Tim?
Just a couple things. Last Thursday, we had our Patriot Challenge Day, which is a field day event, activities and team building and team spirit. Because we've tried to hold this event on 3 separate occasions and 3 separate times it rained, we held it inside in the gymnasium. So 500 plus middle schoolers and 100 staff spent the entire day in the gym. There was some trepidation on my part at the start, but the kids were outstanding and the staff did an outstanding job. So much so that people said in the future they want to do it again inside. We'll talk about that. But I thought they did a really nice job. You'd already mentioned 8th grade celebration is this Friday. At 6 o'clock, we'll be out front in front of the cafeteria, so we welcome folks to come and attend for that. Ceremony is usually about an hour, and then the students have a dance celebration after from 7 to 9. So like I said, if you show up at 8, we'll be glad to have you. We'll be chaperoning 100 or 200 middle schoolers with me, so feel free. Again, to the board, though, if you would like to attend, we absolutely welcome you. You just need to let us know. And I also have yearbooks if there are board members who would like a copy of that. We provide that for free. And then one last thing, we talked about this in previous meetings in front of the board, that the 21st Century grant was not renewed this year. And that had an impact on Mount Anthony because we have used that in the past to fund a summer mosaic program. Because of some creative problem solving on the part of Chris McGuire and my staff, we will be offering a summer program this year from July 7th, which is a Monday, through August 1st, which is a Friday. 4 weeks. There are 4 different sessions, different activities. Program is available in the front office, or you can email me or call me at the school, and we'd be glad to get you information. We do have openings for some of the programs still. They're very inexpensive, $20 a session, and we really encourage kids to participate. It's a really good, safe, supervised activity for most of July.
Is this the mosaic program that would be like it, or is it?
It is.
We are calling it a summer mosaic just because folks are familiar with that, but we will continue to offer the enrichment programs that Mosaic has offered in the past for the summer.
Okay, what happened to the money that we put in the budget this year for the mosaic program?
The money that we've put aside is to fund the after-school program for Mosaic for the school year from September to June. And that will cover programming and salary, and we're working closely with community resources to do transportation, because
It's been a very, very popular program.
Very much so.
I think that I've probably heard more comments by people, particularly not associated with MAU, but in some of the outlying districts where they're not going to be able to run that program, how disappointed they are. So I'm really very pleased and thank you for making the effort to make that program available.
And just to assure the board, the grant, we can apply for the grant again this coming year. Letter of intention by the middle of October. We have every intention of applying for that and competing for that grant.
That's great. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Rick, did we get warrant?
Oh, yeah.
We want to get that done. Chair's report, I'd like to suggest to the board that we do not have a meeting in July, but we have one not on the 3rd Wednesday of August, but on the 2nd, just because it gives us a little time before the beginning of school to get things done, if we need to get them done. I'd also like to have a motion that would allow either myself, Leon, or Rob to sign and review any contractual arrangements that may have to be reviewed during the summer. If we have for instance, if we have a position like the one that Sue just mentioned that has to be filled, we'll have to get somebody to sign that contract. And we also, if we have somebody that for one reason or another resigns during the summer, we'll have to do, there are always 1 or 2 small things. I can assure you, though, that when we do vote on something, an email will be sent to each board member well before we actually do the signing to inform you exactly what is to be signed and why we think it's important to do it.
So moved that the chair or the vice chair signs.
Second.
Any further discussions on that? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Very good.
Tim?
Yes.
Sorry, just to your other request, the Shaftesbury Board generally meets the second Wednesday each month.
What time?
6:30. And I know there's at least one other member of this board who...
Okay, well, that's good, I'm glad you brought that up. Is there a better day that you could make it? Could we do it on Tuesday or Thursday?
I've got to think.
I can't do it a Thursday, but of course.
What about Tuesday?
Tuesday's
Or we could even do it on a Monday.
Monday's fine too.
Tuesday?
Monday would be better probably for me.
Monday? So I'll send you an email as to what the date would be, and if you find that when you review your calendar you can't make it, it's too bad, but that's the way it's going to be. Okay, we can move on, and I thought that Catherine was going to be here, and I did want to say a few words of appreciation for the effort that she has given to the whole district, and in particular the efforts that she and that Donna Leap have given to Mount Anthony and the things that we do. And anybody that has any association with the school can appreciate just how difficult the job is when you have so many different entities trying to influence your decisions, and there are so many individual agendas that have to be addressed. And I think that Catherine is a kind, good person. I think she's done her very, very best. And I just wanted officially in the minutes, this board appreciates her effort and wishes her the best, and the very best in the future. Does anybody agree with that?
Yes.
So moved.
Okay. We can go on then to policies. Leon sent me an email. He used to have a game somewhere. And he hoped to be here by 7, but obviously he isn't, so I'm sure it's running over. Maybe Nathan or somebody can discuss this policy, or David?
I can't really discuss it, no. I did want to just raise some concerns that I have with it. I wasn't involved with drafting it at all. So I can't speak to, from personal experience anyway, any of the background. There's been, I brought this up at the SU meeting a month ago, and I know Rick was able to speak to some of it. There's been some sort of wholesale deletions of language that it's not quite clear to me still after hearing from Rick and Leon last month why that was necessary. But I also would point out that there's a part of the policy that hasn't been changed that reads that the superintendent will report at least annually to boards on compliance with policy and student wellness. And I don't know that we've had a report annually on this particular policy. It might be useful to ask the new superintendent to talk to us about that, regardless of whatever changes are made to the policy.
Okay.
Can we speak to the policy?
Sure, yes.
So the policy is a product of the new federal regulations, legislation that was passed for free and reduced lunch program that we are a part of. And the Food Service Advisory Committee worked hard to develop the policy and basically clean it up to eliminate all the redundant language and basically just refer to the federal policy. Nearly everything that was taken out is reiterated in the federal policy, and the policy committee agreed that it's best to refer to an overriding governing document rather than try to rewrite that document and then have to follow that document and rewrite our document continuously. So that is 99% of the reason for the changes. It was necessary because of new federal regs to clean up some of this, and we took the opportunity to just really put the basics in here and just refer to the federal regs.
Dave, does that help you?
No, I mean, I think I understand what Rick's saying. I still think that there's language in here that may or may not be reflected in some federal guidelines that we don't see, that aren't reprinted here as part of the policy, that might be useful just to have as a position that we're taking publicly, and then asking the superintendent to report back on. Are we in fact making any progress in the direction? I mean, the preamble says, with the object of promoting student health and reducing childhood obesity, the districts will establish nutrition guidelines, and we're cutting that. And it seems to me that's sort of harmless, and I'm not sure why we would cut that specific sentence, for example.
Because I believe it's already in the federal reg, and that's what we're referring to.
Okay, all right.
Well, I don't think we're going to get an answer to this, Dave, and I know that Nathan's been interested in this for a long time. Maybe, I know it's in the future, but maybe by that Monday in August, we could have a little more definition as to straightening this out so that the regulations do reflect what we want, and that we have some kind of accountability built in.
I also just want to say, I know the policy committee works hard on coming up with language that will be acceptable to 8 different boards, and it's thankless tasks. And I don't mean to undermine the work they're doing, not having been to any of the meetings, but these are just concerns I have reading the language.
Well, it's been an interest of yours, and I'm sure it is of Nathan's too. And they're good points, and hopefully we're not approving anything. We're just taking a look at it. I got it.
Yeah. Tim, at our last Shasberry meeting, there was a question on page 2 of the cafeteria guidelines and everything and the menus, and that was all out, and my board asked, why was that out? I said, I'll find out, but I did take down the notes that Rick had just said, so that's a start anyway. Sure. Go back.
And, I can produce the reg for you, give it to you, but it's referenced there, and you can get it online. I mean, it's, and there was extensive language both at the Food Service Committee as well as the Policy Committee. The risk of reiterating something that's already drafted in the regulation, and the feds change something, and then we're in conflict, and we don't know we're in conflict, and then what risk does that create for us? Whereby if we reference that document that could be forever changing, we have to follow that. We have to follow that document.
I think it's important, though, that as David said, that we do have some type of accountability for it, and if we do have in that policy that the superintendent is to report to the boards on advancements or just how well we are complying with the regs, or if they've seen some difference, it would be nice to have a guideline as to how we're doing and whether we are in fact doing what we say we're doing.
Yeah, and that's fine, and I'm not going to speak for the superintendent, but I don't see any reason why any superintendent can't do that. We get audited, actually this coming July, we're going to be audited on our summer food program by the state on behalf of the feds. You will see an extensive report on that. We were recently audited 2 years ago on our meals program. We are one of the largest participants in the state in this. We get over $2 million in federal money to subsidize our food program. So we don't fly under many people's radars. And you should have seen that report. It was a good report. We got good, we got flying colors in that report. But again, I don't want to speak for any superintendent, but I see no reason why they can't give you some sort of report on an annual basis of what's taking place.
Why did we get that extra money? Because we had more people that would qualify for free and reduced lunch.
What extra money?
I thought we got $2 million.
No. We get over $2 million regularly. Okay. And that is, it's largely because of our poverty in this community. We're over 74% poverty throughout the SU community. And, you know, it's brings some good and it brings some bad. It brings some good, you know, entitled dollars, and, you know, it brings challenges into the schools. The principals can tell you that, you know, it brings challenges into the schools in delivering services to these kids. But we get a sizable amount of money because of that poverty.
That's good. Well, are there any other issues that should be brought before?
Well, you got to warn this policy.
I'll move policy 5156 for warning.
Second. Okay, just when we warn it, that doesn't mean we necessarily approve it.
No, it's
No,
out, it's
no,
out
it's
there.
just for warning.
It's out there for
You'll
30.
approve it at the next meeting.
It's out there for 30 days, and any comment period should get back to either this board or the policy committee to recommend changes.
Very good. All in favor then?
No, there's no second. I didn't hear a second. Oh, okay, thanks.
All in favor? Too many pneumatic tools.
Would it be discussion, right?
Yeah.
Would it be appropriate to somehow encourage people to access perhaps a resume of these federal regulations so we can, I mean, if we're just approving a policy which is a federal regulation, you know, that seems pretty lame to me. But at least I think a lot of people, a lot of us, should make a genuine effort to find out what this policy means, what these regulations mean. I mean, do have enormous problems in health, in obesity, all these things we all know. Is this policy that the federal government is recommending helping us in that respect or not? We should all figure this out on our own.
I don't think anybody could argue with that. I would hope that you would go to that policy meeting when it takes place and be our representative and express those concerns.
And I believe the federal reg's on the SU website. If it's not, I'll make sure it is. But I think it's there as a support of this document, but I'll make sure it's out there.
Great, thanks.
Any other questions? Yes, Ken?
Other?
Yes, just one minute, we'll vote on this, I guess.
Yeah, we have to vote on it. We haven't voted on it yet.
We haven't voted on it yet. Okay, all those in favor? This is for the warning of that.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Two abstentions. Very good. Other?
As you know, the Vermont School Board Association has regional meetings in September, and what they decided in conjunction with Rebecca Holcomb, the new commissioner, she's volunteered to come to 6 regional meetings, and our local one's going to be in Manchester on September 15th at the Manchester Elementary School, starting at 5 o'clock. There'll be a meal provided, and she'll be there for questions and answers about what's going on in the state with education. So I think it'd be interesting if you just put that date down in your calendar, September 15th, 5 o'clock, Manchester Elementary School. I think it'll be quite interesting.
That's good. Remind us during our August meeting so that we can,
Okay, sign up and stuff.
get some sign-ups going at that time. I'm sure we'll do. Nathan?
I think the committee reports were omitted.
Which one?
You bypassed the committee report.
Oops, sorry. Agriculture.
Ag Land Committee did meet on June 4th. There was some kind of an emergency drill going on here, so because of communication breakdown, some of the usual members of the committee didn't show up. But I think we're doing a lot to strengthen the relationship between the middle school program and the CDC. So that's encouraging. The next meeting will be July 2nd, and there's a lot of things growing in the garden.
That's great. Thank you. Sorry about that. Education?
Haven't met.
Haven't met. All right. We do not need an executive session. We had the teachers' negotiations, and we also had the administrators' evaluation. So we don't need that. Rick, do we have a warning that should be signed?
I'm all set.
You're all set. Any other issues, Rocco?
I had one comment on the warrants, which we didn't get to discuss, because they were part of the consent agenda.
Yeah.
But I noticed that the total cost of electricity was like $30,000 a month. And I'm wondering, why don't we institute an electricity energy hunt to find things that can be turned off? Because I'm sure we could cut that bill. For example, there's a lot of lights on in in here, and they may all be wired to one switch, but we shouldn't be having lights on when nobody is in that area. And I've seen, I work for a company that has done this, and they saved millions of dollars just by turning off things that aren't needed, and the company's General Electric. And they profit from having people having lights on and using energy, but nevertheless, their own costs were dramatically high, and they found all kinds of ways to save money.
Yeah, I mean, we can look further. I just would say that if you saw that line item a couple of years ago, it was significantly higher. We've done a lot of retrofits in both buildings that have drastically reduced our electric consumption, although it is still outrageously high. You know, we're putting more machines in the buildings on an almost daily basis, you know, with the laptops and computers and everything that's running. So we save by putting in energy efficient lighting, and we spend by putting in more things. But I'd be happy to talk to the principals and see if they had some sort of format, forward it to me, and we'd be happy to look at it and see if we can institute it. There's always a place you can turn off a light. There's no doubt about that.
A number of years ago, we had an energy audit, and at that time, we went through and changed, that was the impetus really, to change a lot of the lighting and do a lot of the things. And I can't remember the figures now, but it did result in savings. But it's good to have somebody bring that to our attention again periodically and see what we can do about saving electricity. Because that is a lot of money. Dave, did you have something?
Yeah, you've got the gym now, so that if there's no movement, the lights shut off on their own.
They do in most of the rooms now at the high school.
Yeah, we have most of the sensors. That was part of that energy retrofit to do that.
All right, Nathan.
To go one step further, is there a way to introduce the possibility of installing photovoltaic cells on the properties to produce our own electricity?
Well,
We've actually been having a number of conversations. It's not as efficiently payback. There's not an efficient payback of the investment. We're currently having a conversation with a net metering situation with a farm somewhere else. I guess as long as you're within the Green Mountain Power grid, they could theoretically build a farm in Winooski and give us the credit down here, but I mean, it's a contract this thick, there's a lot to it, and it takes a lot of research to figure out. But we're looking, we're kicking the tires. We've had a lot of conversations about solar, but we're having a hard time finding a make it work.
Yeah, we looked into it. I can remember at one point, and one of the ways to do it is to have an independent person who actually installs that. Then they get the tax break from it. And
that's what I'm talking about, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there are all sorts of things, but it's a good, you know, Ed and Nathan, it's a good point. We shouldn't just let it go unnoticed and keep our ears and eyes and pencils working on it. It's a good point, though.
Oh, just one thing. At the last CDC meeting, the CDC has retained a grant from the state, and it's for a 30 by 72 foot greenhouse.
Oh.
So I'm sure that's coming up here, and the CD students will be putting it up.
Right. Have you picked a spot for it yet?
I don't know. They probably have. I'm sure it's probably going to go out front here.
But if it's going to be here, it's not going to be down.
It's supposed to be here at the middle school.
Right.
Let's say somebody changes their mind.
That is interesting. Okay. Are there any other issues? Do you have a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Have a great summer, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.